Hi everybody, this is Nicholas Smith with Exertis Almo. I'm in Vegas at the Caesars Forum Convention Center in front of this beautiful LED wall with Megan from Peerless. Megan, welcome.
Thank you.
All right, so we got a lot to talk about. So let's start with, who's Peerless?
Peerless-AV is an 82-year-old company. We got our start in Melrose Park, Illinois, so right outside of Chicago. Rabbit ear antennas were the first products we manufactured for a company called Zenith, which is now known as LG Electronics. In 1965, we invented the CRT TV mount, so we are the inventor of the television mount.
Okay, so you are like the original mount, the OGs of the mounting industry.
We are.
All right, that's good, that's good. So let's talk about mounts. What types of mounts are you producing these days?
So we do everything from LCD mounts to projector mounts to very specialty direct LED mounts. So we have several different lines that we have. We have a universal line for direct LED, so something that can be stocked in distribution. And then we also have a bespoke line for mounts like what you would see behind us.
Custom mounts are really important, right? And when producing an LED wall or putting one up, you've got to be very specific. And so that's why you would be building a custom mount for the wall based on where it's being installed. Talk to me about what the questions or what you might work with a consultant on how to choose that wall mount.
So it depends on the use case for that. So it depends on what interferences are in the space. If we have, beer taps going behind us and pipes, things like that. Obviously, there can be a lot of interferences. HVAC is also a consideration. Is there a vibration in the area? What floor are we on? Is it a floating floor? Is it a solid floor? And so there we can determine how to mount. So whether it be a floor-to-wall solution like what you see behind us, or potentially a floor-to-ceiling solution, or something that could be potentially wall-mounted depending on the weight load. But a standard wall, with drywall and, just some studs isn't going to be able to support the weight of something like what's behind us. And in this case, over 10,000 pounds.
And at what point would, in working with a consultant or a dealer on this, would you help them understand whether it needs to be custom or it can be one of the just straight out of the box, bespoke ones?
It would depend on size. I would say, typically up to like a 10 by 10, 12 by 12, we can usually get away with going directly to the wall, depending on what's behind it. If there is reinforcements, then certainly that's an option. If we get into a super fine pixel pitch, something like 1.2 and below, I would say then we want to look at a custom solution with additional adjustment points, with some special machine mounting plates to, bring in that micro adjustment. Obviously, there's precision involved and you want to make sure you space the pixels correctly.
Yeah. Now, LED's all the rage, but there's still a tremendous amount of flat panels being sold. So where does Peerless sit in the market? What are you doing for the flat panel market to still, honor people who like putting flat panels on walls?
Well, in certain spaces, it's still something that's very much a thing. Hotel rooms. We are the brand standard in most major hotel brands. So we have great experience there. That's something where we're still seeing an uptick on LCD flat mounts. Certain verticals, obviously not as much. But as far as video walls, we do have a very specialty video wall product that's amazing. Has 8 points of micro adjustment, our DSVW 775. It's called the Supreme Video Wall Mount. It's a great seller, but we have seen a decline in that and a huge uptick in direct LED. I want to say it's a 200% in direct LED mounting increase.
Wow, that's a fair amount. All right, so let's talk about this monster behind us here. This is a big wall.
It is.
So run the numbers for me. What's going on back there?
So this is LG LSCB. This is a 2.6 millimeter pixel pitch wall. I want to say this was over 10,000 pounds. This is a 90-degree corner that is directly behind us. So in order to hit that, we had to mount from the floor and attach to the ceiling. There's tiebacks to the wall, but it is a structural steel structure. So it has ATSM A500 steel, which is a very high grade of steel. And we use automotive fasteners. So instead of using, typical mount fasteners, we're using something that's able to withstand quite the vibration, whatever that is. And so it avoids any deflection. It's a very rigid structure, independent from the wall. So let's say there is vibration over time, this wall is going to remain the same. So it's 3 years old now.
That's actually a factor for this one, right? Because the monorail is upstairs?
Exactly. Monorail is above this. So that is a major factor to avoid any vibration. So that this looks, as good on day 1 as it does on day 500. This structure is actually 3 years old now. So I think March it celebrated its 3rd birthday.
Can't argue that. Okay, so you mentioned this one is LG. I mean, as a mount manufacturer, you really got to play nice with everybody, right?
We do.
Because, you don't make the LED, but everybody else does. So what types of insulation, what manufacturers are you working with currently?
So we work with everyone. We work with everyone from Absen to Sony to Philips to Samsung to LG. Unilumin is another one that we work with. Planar as well. So we are friends with everyone in there. You know, we can support manufacturers that we didn't list as well, but typically those are the big ones that seem to have the large projects that we're involved with. And that's usually where a consultant spec is coming in.
I think oftentimes people focus on what's in front of the wall, right? They focus on the LED, and the importance of a good mount behind the wall actually makes that LED look better.
It does.
Right? I mean, a badly mounted wall can make even the most expensive wall look bad.
That's
right? So
very true.
how is your team helping with that to ensure the mount goes up correct, that customers are doing it in a way that makes the wall look its best?
Absolutely. So for the first time, the mount matters. On the LCD side of things, we were an ancillary accessory. So now we are actually a structure. We are important to the deal. So we are involved in every aspect of it from the project management side. We're able to be on site. If you buy a bespoke Peerless structure, you will actually have an engineer be on site with the wall. So that's included in the price. So someone will physically be there walking the installation crew through the process. We're able to do full installation as well if needed, or even partial, so we can send a few guys to assist someone if it's a large enough project. We are certified with all the major manufacturers, so we understand how to space the pixels and what to do. And something else I should mention, we do things a little differently. We actually get the cabinets in-house. We actually test fit. So we do a mock-up of these bespoke walls before they go on site to ensure that there are no problems. I know some of our competitors will just send some mounts out. Nothing's been tested. We don't really know what happens. Where for us, in order to make sure that it's perfect, we actually test it first.
I think there's a really interesting comment. This is going to be your new marketing slogan. Mounts matter. Right? Because, I mean, a bad mount can make a good wall look like a Christmas tree. Right. And that's the last thing you want to see. Now, it's interesting on the services side, the mocking it up ahead of time, the prepping it. I mean, it really ensures that you can get a smooth installation later. So how long did this one take to put out?
So this one, I want to say we did 2 trips back and forth. From start to finish, from PO to completion of the project, I want to say it was probably 90 days. So it was very fast. This was fast tracked. Had to be open by a certain date. Actually had to be open by NFL draft. And then, unfortunately, the world shut down. So this was complete, beautiful, and then sat there dormant for probably 9 to 12 months.
So obviously services are really important, because what we see oftentimes is dealers have an opportunity, or systems integrators do, but they don't have the expertise, or they haven't done an LED wall. Right? And so having a service partner that can support them can be very important. I know Exertis Almo has services. You all offer services as well. Why would somebody choose to use that?
Well, we are certified. We are experts. So by using us, you're able to have someone that is certified with manufacturers, someone that does this, day in, day out. I mean, our crews are on installs every single day of the week, including weekends. So having someone that's very familiar with the product, very familiar with how to do this. I mean, if you do this twice a year, you're probably not an expert, where we have our 10,000 hours to be complete experts in it now.
Talk a little bit about trends. Where do you see the industry going right now? What is the next phase? I mean, obviously, as a manufacturer, you're working with other manufacturers and you're seeing sort of where the future lies. What are you seeing right now?
LED is going everywhere. Obviously, there's all-in-ones going in boardrooms. That's not our space. That's not a winnable space for Peerless. That's something where we kind of stay out of that. We're more on the specialty, larger side of things. So command and control has been one that we've seen a drastic uptick. XR stages as well, where, truss systems were good enough for some, but now as we're getting into a tighter pitch, you need more than a truss. So it's going to require, precision. We've got to hit a 90-degree corner. There's a curve. It has to be perfect. Good isn't good enough anymore. It has to be flawless. So we're seeing an uptick in every space, a lot of public spaces, ballrooms as well, convention centers like what's behind us. I mean, this is a major market as well, but we're seeing it in aquatic pools. We're seeing, it's amazing how many places are now adding LED where, beyond, 10 years ago, it was retail and a few others were the ones using it. Yeah.
Right. It was Times Square. It was
digital out of home.
What do you think's changed in that space? Why has it suddenly become so prevalent? Is it the cost factor has come down? Is it the availability of product? What was the shift?
So, LED is now stocked in distribution. So that certainly helps that model as well. So we're looking at, it being more accessible. Obviously the mounts are not stocked unless it's a universal mount and something small and simple for a flat wall. When we get into the custom stuff, the cost has come down on everything, especially on the LED. I mean, we're seeing LED walls being not too far off from what video walls were 5 years ago. So it's now where I think it's attainable, and probably in the next 2 years, it will be very attainable for everyone to own LED in the commercial space.
And certainly in a conference room, a boardroom, a space where people are, either using it for iMag or XR, having the lack of seams that an LCD wall would create, and having that big seamless wall just gives you more flexibility because it would command and control. I mean, now you're no longer bound by the frames of the TVs. You can spread the content or the map across the entire wall without anything hindering it. So yeah, certainly the utilization of how LED can be used is far greater than the LCD wall.
Absolutely.
Right. Anything that you want people to know about Peerless that we didn't cover?
Peerless can really do anything. That's something I think we've done a terrible job at telling people, is that we are, a custom mounting provider, and not only a mount, it's a mounting system. So, very specialty products. We acquired ADF about a year ago, and that's expanded our engineering capabilities. So we actually have a separate facility in Southern California. It's about 25,000 square feet. So it's dedicated for just these short run productions for custom LED.
I think it's interesting. What I'm hearing from the mounting side is that it's more of a consultative partnership in helping the dealer and the systems integrator, the end user, get the perfect wall.
Exactly.
Right? And get the perfect look. So it's an interesting process.
Yes, and I would say that, getting us involved as early as possible is the best case scenario. So before construction begins on a new build.
Before you've chosen the wall?
Yeah, we can certainly talk through that in certain use cases. If you're putting something, in a specific use case, let's say there's saltwater, other things, we can tell you, this is what we've seen, this would be a better one, or a non-latching cabinet versus a latching cabinet in a curve. We actually manufacture the largest non-latching cabinet deployment in Morocco. I think it was last year. So it's a massive deployment. It is absolutely incredible, but someone had chosen a latching cabinet. It might have been a faster install. So.
Fair enough. So we mentioned all these different applications. How big is outdoor still? Because that's one of the original use cases for LED is, Times Square.
Absolutely. So outdoor LED has come down so drastically in price. It's something that's very affordable. We're seeing a lot of people redo scoreboards, pylons, things like that, where, 20 something millimeters was an acceptable pixel pitch, where now they're going down to 16 to 10. And on use cases where it's a smaller wall outside, there are some LED manufacturers that are now making something that is a sub 2 millimeter pixel pitch for outdoor. So pretty spectacular to see. But then we've seen an uptick as well in our outdoor displays. So we have a 75-inch high bright. So it makes sense to use that versus doing LED in certain use cases. We also have a 55 and 65. These have been used in transit. I think we've been in the business about 10 years. I actually got my start working for an end user, and we bought almost 1,000 Peerless outdoor displays.
So going back to markets, obviously there's, XR has become a very big story, right? And so we're seeing XR stages everywhere where people are shooting against LED walls, to use virtual production. What are the other market segments that you're seeing mounts being used in? Esports
is growing for us, as well as gaming. Obviously, with the landscape changing in sports betting, we have seen a massive uptick in, different states adding sports books, and it's usually a very fast thing. Last year, we actually did our first installation outside of the U.S. for a sports book in Puerto Rico. So very proud to say we did one there too.
Megan, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you getting us in to see the wall and be able to experience this. So if anybody has more questions about Peerless, how to install them, you've got a project coming up, obviously reach out to your Exertis Almo rep, get more information on how you can engage the Peerless team and get them involved in your next LED or flat panel project.
Absolutely.
Megan, thanks for being here.
Thank you.